when you've got a brain that is thinking a lot more clearly, it's working a lot more efficiently, right and left hemispheres are firing and wiring in the way that's been optimized, yeah, maybe working out does start to feel like a really good idea.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast, and today we're at the Bulletproof Labs in the Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. And we interview a lady called Amanda McVey, who's the VP at Upgrade Labs. And Upgrade Labs is part of the Bulletproof family, originally started by Mr. Dave Asprey, known for the Bulletproof Coffee. We talk about biohacking, the category which they've created, the future of fitness, the potential in improving human performance, and how to live longer and better. This is a space that I'm very excited about. And it's something that I really think anyone in the health and fitness industry, whether you're a trainer, a club owner, an operator or investor, should really take some time and explore and think about how this could be relevant to your business going forward. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed getting involved in a lot of the products that these guys are doing. Check it out and let me know what you think. Well, I'm here at the Beverly Hilton in Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And it's the world's first human upgrade center, is that correct?
That's correct. If I'm allowed to say that, then yes, it's the very first one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I must admit, walking around, I'm sort of very envious that I don't have one of these closer to me because it looks fantastic. Do you get to use all the equipment all the time?
I do. It's the reason any of us took the job. Gained access to the most leading edge technology that really only the 1% has had access to before. So of course, that's why we were all like, may I please work there?
Yeah.
Just teach me how to use it.
So which is your favorite bit that you use on a regular basis?
There's a combination that I use on a regular basis. So my favorites that I use all the time at labs, one is called PEMF. It's PEMF, Pulsed Electromagnetic Field Therapy. And have you ever heard of earthing or grounding, like stick your toes in nature, and it's really good for your body, but nobody knows why. So essentially PEMF, it's like earthing but on steroids in this really high-tech way. And it's a powerful cellular healer. So it makes your body feel really energized. If you have any aches and pains, whether you've been working out or perhaps from an injury, it decreases all of the inflammation that's connected to it. So you really feel recovered and you feel energized when you use it. So that's one of my favorites. I pair it with our red charger, which is our red light therapy. And again, it supercharges your mitochondria. So the little battery packs inside your cells, it's almost like plugging in your cell phone, but for your body. Makes your energy go up, up, up. And so I love that. It also has massive beauty benefits, so helps with fine lines and wrinkles. And then
I need that.
I know, I lay on the thing. And then the last thing that I do, but it's not because I like it, is cryotherapy. So cryotherapy, it's frigid temperatures. It's wonderful again for recovery, but I don't like cold. No. So I play really loud music in it and it gets me through it. So it's in my trifecta, but not necessarily because I love that one.
No. Mm-hmm. So this category, from what I know about you guys, and I've followed the podcast, Dave Asprey podcast, and I've just got his latest book actually, which I'm working my way through.
Yep.
Am I right in saying that this kind of category of sort of biohacking and really what you've created, do you think, is it you guys that have pioneered that? Yeah. Would you say?
We would say that. So Dave Asprey is our creator, and Dave Asprey is actually known as the father of biohacking, and biohacking is our category. And so he's got a really wonderful story, and it's actually the story of our brand. So Dave Asprey, 2 decades or more ago, he's this 20-something working in Silicon Valley, actually shaping Silicon Valley as we know it today, and just an insane genius computer hacker. And he was the first.
He was really a computer hacker, was he?
He was the first guy who sold anything on the internet ever. Dave sold a t-shirt about a coffee t-shirt before e-commerce was even a thing, like that level of genius. And so, like I said, he's in his late 20s, kicking ass, super competitive, but he bumps into a problem that many of us have faced. He was so focused on work, wasn't necessarily focused on his health, and quickly found himself in a place where he was overweight, fatigued, and brain fog had set in. So Dave goes to his doctor and he said, what do I do? Like, I'm not kicking ass to the level that I used to. You got to help me. And the doctor said something we've all heard, which is eat less, exercise more. So Dave does that aggressively. He's over 6 feet tall. He's eating 1,400 calories a day. He's training for 90 minutes, 6 days a week, and doesn't get the results that he wants. And ultimately, he says, I'm a computer hacker, and if I apply the same systematized approach to my own biology that I would to solving a computer problem, I'm going to be able to solve this health crisis. And that's really where biohacking was invented. Right. Hacking your own biology, because if you think about it, your brain, it's like software, and your body is hardware. And so he went on a quest for his health. Have you heard of Bulletproof Coffee?
I have, yeah, but I don't know whether any of the listeners have, but it would be good. And I drink it, and I know they're now selling it in Whole Foods.
Exactly.
So I get it. I do it myself. But yeah, go on, tell the story of what it is and how and why that was created.
Okay, so Dave literally goes on this quest, spends $1 million, travels around the whole world. And he's doing all kinds of crazy things, as every biohacker should. You know, he's meditating in caves and he's drinking different concoctions. And ultimately, he figures out after spending time with these people, with this tribe, that he noticed that they were drinking yak butter tea. And it seemed to be the main thing that they were having to sustain their energy throughout the day. So, you know, they'd be climbing up mountains, and the thing that they were bringing with them was yak butter, tea, and a blender. And this was the thing that was keeping them full throughout the day and energized. And he's like, why are they bringing this blender everywhere? And what is so important about this combination of the yak butter plus the tea? So he comes home and starts fiddling with recipes, and ultimately figures out that if he does the coffee with the ghee or the grass-fed butter and then his amazing, what is now brain octane, and blends it, he's getting the same result. And this was his first biohack, because the Bulletproof Coffee, it allowed him to feel full longer, so he could do intermittent fasting, which was helping solve the weight gain issue. And then the fats were really wonderful for his brain. It's brain fuel. So now the fog is starting to clear. He's starting to feel like he's back online and sharp again. And so really Bulletproof Coffee was born out of his health crisis. And he said, if I can get even 5 people to know about this and change their lives the way that it changed mine, where no longer fatigued, his weight had normalized, his energy was back, and he was that kick-ass person again. It's like, I have to tell the world, but even if just 5 people's lives change. And so he starts his blog and is talking about his Bulletproof Coffee, and the blog starts to catch on. And now many consumers are getting really excited about this Bulletproof Coffee and the brand, and he starts a podcast, and ultimately Dave becomes a rich dude off this Bulletproof Coffee, and he starts getting back to the thing that he loves most in the world, which is technology. And the technologies that we actually have at Labs, he started buying for his house. And he was training himself with all of this wonderful equipment. And then he starts talking about it in the blog and on the podcast. And the consumer is like, okay, where can I get an atmospheric cell trainer? What the heck is a red charger? And so in a way, he created another problem for the market, where he's talking about all of these magical solutions, but there was nowhere to go. Right. And this is when Dave gets another harebrained idea. He said, I've got this Bulletproof Cafe in Santa Monica, and it's wonderfully successful. The people are already going to it, the fans of the Bulletproof brand. I'm just gonna take over the space in Santa Monica right next door. I'm gonna buy one of everything that's in my house and just put it in there, throw the doors open, and let the people come. That's not a business model, right? So it's like $2 million worth of equipment with the doors open near Venice. So that's really where my story begins, and the CEO of Upgrade Labs, Martin Tobias. At that point, we enter the business and got to collaborate with Dave to figure out how do we take really a conglomerate of what was in his garage to the market, and who trains here, how do we measure, how much does it cost, who works here, and how does it all fit together in a way that can really transform somebody's life in the way that Dave had experienced it himself.
Right.
So that's really even where our brand came out of, in the world's first human upgrade center. That's the birth of it.
So with the Bulletproof coffee then, so was that, because you hear it, you see people selling it all over the place, and it may not be, whether it's original Bulletproof or not, I don't know. So is it right then that Dave and company invented and came up with that term Bulletproof coffee?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That for me is one of the really fun bits of the brand, because the same way Xerox and Kleenex have done you can grab any brand, but people will still call it a Kleenex of tissue. And Dave has really solidified what it means to have a bulletproof coffee in the consumer's mind share. And so that you can travel different places on earth and order a bulletproof coffee, and it will be coffee with the butter and coconut oil in it, but it may not be an actual bulletproof coffee as we know it, because the brand is bulletproof. And so they've done a really good job teaching the consumer about what a bulletproof coffee is. But of course, like he's gone to really incredible standards around the quality of what's included when you're having a brand name bulletproof coffee, with the coffee beans, the type of water that's used to brew the coffee, and then of course the quality of the brain octane oil, the coconut oil, as well as the grass-fed butter or ghee.
I think it's quite clever how the team have also created the category, which is biohacking.
Yeah.
When did that? What was the sort of timeline? You had the coffee, and then when did you guys or Dave decide to come up with this new category, which was biohacking?
So he's been considering himself a biohacker for decades. And in fact, when he started Bulletproof Coffee, and then really fandom began, he started the very first biohacking conference. And so that was, almost 7 years ago now. And so he created the space in that vein. But at that time, biohacking it's essentially measuring where you are right now, whether that's your sleep, the quality of your skin, your hormone levels, your inflammation. So just where are you? Trying something, measuring again, and seeing, did you get better, worse, or stay the same? Right? And you're constantly looking for interventions that make you better. And so that's biohacking. And so whether that's, on one end, taking medication could be biohacking, right? I'm in pain, I take medication, I'm out of pain, right? So there's that technically is a version of it, but of course we like to do things in current state through technologies and through like really intelligent measurement systems.
Well, the word hacking is an interesting word, and I'm sure you've had the conversation about this before, but I suppose in the body and in nature, I suppose the general feeling is things, in order to, you can't necessarily hack your sleep, or you can't hack health, and so, if you want a good result, you can't hack your marriage. What's I don't know, I'm sure we'll try.
Okay, in my head I was like, yes, you can hack sleep, and yet correct. Marriage, let's not hack marriage. Maybe, unless that's what dating apps do. But
that's right. So I guess in this day and age, we're all trying to kind of find, let's use another word, shortcut. We're all trying to find a shortcut.
It's a shortcut.
Is there a shortcut to good health? I know people have got different opinions on this, but how would you answer that in an intelligent way that's right for someone in the long term? Because in most cases, when you have shortcuts, you generally pay for it at some point. There's consequences to it. So what's your reply on that?
So I've got a couple of things that come to mind when I hear that question. The first thing that comes up for me is when I look at the state of the United States health, I don't think that we've figured it out, period. So even if it's the no pain, no game, hire the best trainer, get in there and you must sweat for 90 minutes a day, the results are showing that we haven't figured it out. And so if that can create a little bit of openness for people to understand that we should at least consider another way, even if it seems like it might be a shortcut, I don't believe that the current solution is necessarily the right solution. So that's part one. Part two, what has been very interesting for me working here, because I come from traditional fitness. I come from health industry. And quite honestly, before coming here, I wasn't entirely sure. I'm like, some of this might be baloney. Maybe all of it's baloney, but I kind of want to go see and figure it out for myself. And what I've found massively impactful since working at labs is that we're speaking to the body in the body's language. So I'm longtime personal trainer, group fitness instructor. I'm speaking to the body as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor who's studied how to grow a muscle and improve range of motion. But what happens at labs is we're constantly sending signals to your cells. And the reason it's a hack or a shortcut is because we're essentially taking out all the BS of the branding and fads and everything that gets great marketing that gets placed on top of fitness and health and wellness. And instead, we just send little signals to your cells, and your cells know what to do, because there's finally a system that's talking to them in their language. So let's give an example, a couple examples of that. At labs, your body's made of cells from the tips of your toes to the ends of your hair, ends of my hair maybe. And your cells need a few things to be really happy, healthy, and to live long. They like good water, good food, oxygen. They like to exercise. They like to get rid of waste. So they're for how complex they are, they're also quite simple. And so at labs, instead of having a trainer in your face working on how many bicep curls can you do, instead here, what we're doing is checking in with your cells and seeing, are they getting enough of the right kind of water? Are they getting enough oxygen? Do they get enough light? And we know this will allow a cell to thrive, and so we measure that, and then all of our interventions work accordingly, which is why when you go around labs, you'll see light and water and oxygen. And of course, with the in Santa Monica, we've got the Bulletproof Cafe, so we can really nourish people's bodies, but otherwise with our IV therapy to give good nourishment. So it's a hack in that it's a different way of approaching the system, and it appears like a shortcut. It appears to have accelerated results, but it's because your body's like, finally, you're speaking a language that I understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So what do you do about the truth? Because in this day and age, even as something as simple as, do you eat carbs, don't you eat carbs? Do you do cardio, don't you eat cardio? It's when, that's basic fitness, which is confusing enough. Then you step into this field of biohacking, which is the terminology you guys use, and you've got all the different equipment and technology. How do you, as a company, ensure that you're as honest and truthful and accurate as you can be? And then how do you tell that story to potential people who may come and use this stuff, to avoid it becoming like a lot of what is seen in the fitness industry, which is quite gimmicky and faddish?
So truth is complex when you're on the leading edge. And so, and here's what I mean by that. We have made a commitment to our clientele that we're always going to seek what we believe is the best. And so, with our red charger, for example, our red light therapy, we've switched out the technology that we're using. We love light. We know we love red light, but we've continually switched out which technology we've used, because as we've learned more about the science, we put in what we believe to be the best. And it's because it's our commitment of being on the leading edge. Were we lying to the consumer when we gave them the last form of light? Not at the time. And so for us, that was the truth at the moment, but we've just made that commitment to be in this lab. And labs are experimental. Right, yeah. That we'd always deliver the truth as we know it best in that moment. Yeah. Now, quite honestly, we're the first company that's ever, we're a collective in here of technologies from around the world. Dave Asprey has curated this experience. None of these technologies have ever appeared in one space before us. So while each of the vendors who provided us the technology gave us intense training on their tech, we have been measuring everything since on how the tech all works together. And so even with that, it's part of the fun of working with our brand as a consumer, because they are learning along with us and we're constantly running experiments. And And so we don't make any claims, right, to especially in the beginning, because we honestly didn't know what might happen, right? Right? But over this last 2.5 years, as we've been measuring and thousands of people have come through our facilities, we've really figured out the programming for different intended outcomes. And so that's where we land with our truth.
Right.
It's a true lab. We measure, experiment, and measure again.
How does it work with the people that are organizing? Because I suppose I'm familiar with, let's take the traditional fitness club. You kind of, it's like, okay, well, there's a few things that people want to get. They want to lose weight, they want to build muscle, etc. With this, it's kind of like, well, how do you, because you're the first ones that have done it, number one, and then a lot of these pieces of equipment, like the one we're looking at over here, this is kind of a specifically modified, probably one-off in the whole world piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. One, how do you know what you need, because it's not there before? And then how do you go about finding suppliers and vetting, is it real red light or not? Is it the right temperature, amplitude, whatever? How do you go about doing that? And what do you do as a team of people to kind of keep moving this whole thing forward?
Yeah, that is where Dave has been so wonderfully helpful for us, because he obviously initially, with the technology that was in his home, he's the one who did all the research around that, because he was an individual consumer who just wanted really cool things in his house that were really effective. And so when we first launched as a brand, we just had one of everything that he had. But since then, and of course, because he's very popular in the space, he's constantly researching and looking, but he's also, people are putting their technology in front of him. And then he goes through a vetting process, and he's sticky around proof and results and efficacy and safety. And then of course the business things of like, does it fit in a commercial environment when you've got a lot of people going through lots of wear and tear, right? And so he's been monumentally helpful for us in that way. And of course, we just talked about it, like going to CES and just keeping an ear to the ground around what countries are doing what and what tech might be hitting the United States. So we're always seeking and sniffing it out, but we've been very fortunate to have Dave.
Yeah, that must be quite I suppose, you said for traditional fitness clubs, it's like, okay, well, you go to these certain shows and they have all the equipment. This is a brand new category.
Yeah.
What's the vision for this then? Do you envision these kind of upgrade labs across the country and making it accessible for everybody, or is it kind of fairly boutique and you're only going to have a few of these for people? Because my guess is it's pretty expensive to come and do this or to be part of this. So what's the vision and where do you see it going?
Yeah, so what you said first is actually correct. We believe that everybody should have access to this type of technology because everybody should have access to good health. But of course, to your second point, it's boutique right now. It is quite costly. And this technology has been in the homes of the uber wealthy and in the training facilities of our Olympians and our professional athletes, right? So we just took it out of those environments and we've put it into a commercial space where the next level of affluent people can access it now. But this is not the big vision. The big vision for us is being able to scale this so they can be all over the country and hopefully all over the world one day. And so with that, and even again, just going back to Dave's expertise, we're building a model of labs that we think, one, will be more palatable in if we plopped it down in the middle of the country, right? Like this kind of thing makes sense when you're in LA. Does it make sense in every market? Maybe not so much, right? So we've got something that it's modified. So we believe it's going to be really palatable to the general market. It'll allow us to bring it down in cost significantly because right now our memberships range $500 and up per month. And of course, we'd like to get it to a place where it's more in the pricing that somebody might experience at an Orange Theory, right? That people are used to paying for really good health. And then the last piece about it is that the model that you see here, it includes a full-blown medical clinic with a doctor and nurses, and we're doing really interesting treatments and measurements. And then you've got these big pieces of equipment that are expensive that one customer can be on with one trainer, or we call them a biohacker tech. And so the vision
biohacker tech.
A biohacker tech.
Okay, that's the people that are working with their clients.
Yep, that's exactly right. And who have special education around the technologies that we have here. And so the future version, like I said, it would be simplified. We would take out the medical clinic, of course, because that adds complexity depending on which market you're entering. And then we're looking at creating a group experience. So right now, instead of one large piece of technology with one client and one trainer, it would be almost like our version of group fitness, but in the most powerful room you've ever been in. So here, you might sit on the technology or interact with the technology, but in this space, the technology would be baked into the floors and the walls and the sounds and the smells and the lights. And so the room would come to life around the consumers as really interesting programming is happening within the room.
Right. Mm-hmm. So before the interview, you gave me a little bit of a tour and highlighted some of the key bits of equipment. Would you mind kind of giving us a virtual tour of the key things that are in the lab as it is currently and why you chose them?
Yeah, so we really think about our business in 3 big buckets. One is the future of fitness. And so you can come here and get an amazing workout in 60 minutes that can replace your week's worth of exercise. The next is recovery and beauty. And then the final bucket is really around cell health and brain and cognition. And so those are the 3 big buckets. The space that we're sitting in right now at the Beverly Hilton is our strength lab. And in here, the types of technologies that we were looking at, one, for example, is the cheat machine. That is a 12-minute workout that replaces a week's worth of strength training. And it's a device. Did you want me to break down a little bit about how each of it works as well? So it's a device that it almost looks like what you would expect out of a cable pulley system at a gym if you were going to do chest press and rows and leg press. And so it looks very familiar, but it's connected to motors and not weights. And second by second, it's analyzing your body for its true strength. And so instead of often at a gym, we might say, I think I can squat 100 pounds, so I'll just pick up 100 pounds and be good with it. And I think you're supposed to do 12 reps, right? 3 sets of 12. Well, instead, this system's actually making really good choices for your body around how much weight you can actually handle moment by moment. So the force sensors are adapting. It'll say in this second, she can handle 89 pounds. In this second, she can handle 200 pounds. And so moment by moment, it's reading your muscles and responding. So it's actually giving you the perfect amount of weight for your strength training workout. And then so that's our hack or our shortcut for strength training. And then for our cardio training, we've got AI adapted cardio. And it looks like it's a spin bike in a way, but it's connected to artificial intelligence. Very similarly, moment by moment, it's reading your body, it's reading essentially the energy inside your body, and it's making decisions around how much force you have under the pedals. So you're not actually turning a knob so that you're saying, now I'm climbing on a hill. It's deciding when you're climbing on that hill based on the true strength of your body moment by moment. And
how does it, just pause there, how does it figure out then if today, like some days I feel great and I can tear it up in the gym and some days I can't. Yeah. Is it able to figure that out as well?
Yeah, it can tell based on your performance. So each of the systems is connected to a computer that's guiding you to some marker. So for example, with the strength training workout I just described, once you're in our system, it will have tracked every single rep you've ever done on the machine. So when you come back to work out with us, the system will actually pull up, here's what you did. You did 5 repetitions last time on a chest press, and it will actually show you with when you look at a heart monitor at a hospital that pulses up and down, it kind of looks like that with your repetitions of your strength throughout the push and the pull. And so you can compete with yourself. You can compete with your last workout and make sure that rep by rep, you're actually improving over your last workout. And what's so amazing about that technology is that it'll tell our trainers, if you're not performing as well this time, we haven't allowed you enough recovery time. We pop you on over to the recovery labs and we pivot in the workout. So it's awesome that a trainer is not just telling you do 3 sets of 12 because that's what's been prescribed today. We're constantly watching the workout in the moment because based on how the machine is reading your system, it's giving us feedback that we can adapt to, so that even the programming of your workout with us is quite smart. Similarly with the AI cardio that I was describing, it's the same thing. So if, as you're trying to keep up with the prompts from the system, if the system notices, he's not keeping up this way in the same way that he was last time, that's data for us, right? You're not, the system will actually not push you quite as hard. It's going to work within what it is to push for today for your body. Right. And so, and basically all of our technology is like that. And this actually, as far as where are we going in the future, you saw as we were going for a tour, and even just as you look around this room, everything is connected to a computer in here. None of the computers talk to each other. And so for the future of our brand, this is actually a big piece where we're in the process of developing an app, so that as you come here and as we measure you, we're going to get a lot more intelligent around, when the 10 cryotherapy sessions is actually the sweet spot to induce a decrease in inflammation. Once you do 12, diminishing returns, or 8's not enough. And so we're going to start pulling in the data from all these different technologies, and so we can get a lot more comprehensive information about your body and programming.
Is that both on the recovery and the workout side then?
Yep.
That sounds pretty interesting. So you'll kind of have your profile from all this different equipment.
Yeah.
So that must be quite difficult then, because I guess each one of these pieces is made by a totally different company then.
Yes.
That requires.
Thank goodness for APIs. That was literally, that's always the question we ask now when we meet new vendors. We're like, do you have an open API?
If not,
I know, it's like we'd be keying in information all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a big piece of our future as well.
Right. And what's this piece? This sort of
the cold hit. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That's a favorite around here. So it's cold, high intensity interval training. And for most people, when they think of HIIT training, they think of like heart pumping through the roof, sweat going everywhere, just like short and intense. This, as you can see, it's a recumbent elliptical, much like you would see at a rehab facility, right? Just relaxed arms and legs pumping, certainly no sweat flying everywhere or heart rates through the roof. And it's intentional. So this piece of technology, this recumbent elliptical, has been modified. So it's been connected to cooling pads that you sit on, as well as cold compression cuffs that go around your arms and your legs. And then it's a barefoot workout, so the pedals are also quite cold. So the whole system chills down to 47 degrees. And it's this combination of the cooling on your whole system, plus the compression around the arms and the legs, that throughout this 21-minute guided interval workout that is quite calm, you start to get a lactic acid buildup inside your muscle belly. So have you ever done a wall sit and your legs burn? It feels like that in your arms and your legs for the 21 minutes. It's surprisingly, you're like, wait, I'm sitting here relaxing on this machine, but everything is burning so intensely, but it's just because it's all trapped. And so after 21 minutes of going through this interval workout with the compression cuffs and the cold, we take the compression cuffs off you, we lay you down on a cooling bed, and essentially all of that lactic acid gets dispersed through your system. And your body says, there's way too much lactic acid. I clearly exercised for 3 hours. It's a signal to your brain, just a workout overload. Mm-hmm. And your brain releases all of the anabolic hormones. So the human growth hormone, testosterone, flood your system. So really powerful for helping grow muscles, recover, and energizing. So it's not a technology we recommend closer to bed, because people just feel on this massive energized high from it. But again, it's a hack for that anaerobic response. And what I love about it is that, we've got older women who come here who really can't do a lot of high impact. They're not trying to, in their 70s and beyond. But with this piece of technology, because it's so gentle on the system, but so powerful from a hormone perspective, they come in and they're like, I'm growing a tricep. Wow. It's amazing to see muscle starting to show up, and energy and vitality. And then the flip side of that, we've got some professional athletes who come, and we don't want to mess with the joints, with the muscles. Like we want to help them recover, we want to help them train, but we don't want to mess up any of their traditional training. And so again, we know that we're keeping them quite safe, but we love that we can flood their system with the thing that their system needs.
Yeah. With this concept, what would be the demographic that you go after? Because it sounds like it could be for everybody, but is there an area that you sort of niche down to? I know certainly in the book you talk about longevity. So is it kind of really aimed at the boomers that want to live forever or a lot longer than what they can? I know, what is it, Dave wants to live to 150 or something?
Yeah, 180.
180, right. You know that.
It's true. I know, I was like, I want to do that too, if that's possible. He doesn't want to just live that long, he wants to live really well that long, which I think is actually the really cool part of the brand. But so the demographic, it's been mixed, because in the beginning, the people that found us really organically, it tended to be the professional athletes and celebrities and very affluent individuals, which made sense because on some level they had experienced it, heard it, like this technology wasn't weird, right? They had seen it at somebody's house, they had seen it in a training facility. And so in the beginning, that's who showed up. Next, we ended up with a lot of autoimmune individuals, and that also made sense. I mean, we have a medical clinic on site. It's what I noticed at that point was, when you've been seeking to get out of pain, to get out of a chronic problem, you'll what's out there. I'm looking for a solution. And so that was, I feel so lucky that we have a medical clinic on site so that we could be helpful when it came to that. But now, especially now that biohacking's become a lot more mainstream, what I've noticed is it's a lot of just busy people who they're like, my time is very valuable, and I don't believe the hype anymore that I have to spend hours a day slogging away at the gym, that it's not a shortcut, it's the way. And so now it's people who want to be able to spend time with the kids, they're busy at work, just individuals who are like, I have other things to do, I still want to take care of my health. But I realize now that it can be done in a really efficient way.
And what about marketing this? What are you marketing it as? Because there's a big part, certainly what I thought when I came in was this whole recovery element to it, but I didn't realize that there was a fitness element to it. So what are you telling people in order to sort of build the brand? And I know you've obviously been fortunate that there was a certain road been built from what Dave had done with the coffee, etc. But when you're a standalone and you're going into new areas that are probably not familiar about that, how are you going to sort of sell this?
That was actually the most challenging piece of this, especially in the beginning, because it's not like we had the luxury to say we're like Equinox, but we're like Orange Theory, but there was just nothing. And then how do you carve a space in a consumer's mind so that first you can educate them on what the heck an atmospheric cell trainer is and why they should come and use it regularly and also pay a premium to do it. So that was the challenge in the beginning. And we, I feel really lucky. We've made a ton of mistakes and we've tried a whole bunch of things out. In the beginning, we were often talking a lot about the technology and how unique it is and the benefits of it, and that it was just so focused on the tech. And because it felt like we had to, because nobody had seen it or heard about it, and we were educators. But that's not super useful for a consumer. And so now really when we're talking about the brand, before somebody has come in, somebody who's just cold, here's the thing, you come from the industry, people who walk through our doors, the things they say, my body's too fat, it's too slow, it doesn't have enough muscle, it's not very energetic, my sleep sucks. Like there's only a handful of things that people know to say about their bodies. And what I've loved about working for this brand is that once we get them on the inside and once they start training with us, they realize that the excess weight and the not enough muscle, those are things that'll just shift to side effects when we really start caring for them at a cellular level, right? When your cells are happy, the skin starts to look nice, the body composition gets to where it needs to be, and everything else shakes out. So I've loved when people start training with us. I've loved that moment where people are like, wait, I always thought my life was like a 7 out of 10. I was pretty good, maybe an 8 out of 10, my energy, my health. Now I realize I've been walking around at a 2 my whole life. I had no clue. Now I have energy, right? Like just boundless energy. They figure that out when they've been with us. But to go back to your original question, when speaking to a consumer who's never met our brand before, we no longer lead with this cool technology that nobody knows what it is. When we don't even try to tell them about the pieces of their brain and imagination and energy that they'll gain touch with by training with us. Instead, we've simplified it down to the exact things they say when they walk through the door. This is a place where you can lose weight. This is a place where we can help you with sleep. And so you'll see, if you ever get served one of our ads, it's how we're talking to the consumer. Lose the weight, regain the energy. Train like Dave Asprey, that's a great one. People like that one too, with his strange little workouts. But I think that's, so does that piece make sense in terms of marketing it?
It kind of raises another question really, which is, you use the word educators, and certainly from the lab, Bulletproof lab concept, Dave certainly seemed to spend a lot of time educating people just about something very simple such as coffee and the type of coffee and mold. I've sort of heard a ton of stuff for years, and so do you think when you are breaking new ground and creating this category on your own, that from a marketing perspective, that education is a big part, and you have to sort of be prepared to invest that time in educating the market on a need that they probably don't realize they need. What do you think about that?
It is where we spend a lot of our time.
Really?
And it's important, when one of the things that sits so fond for me about this brand is that I think that the consumer is just over all the bullshit. And that I've seen the consumer really take to the fact that the team and the brand takes so much time to just nerd out on it and learn and as best as they can, working within the truth that we know, to be a hub of education. We hold every single month, at least once, often more times, something called Meet the Hacker, where we just open our doors. It's completely free. We bring in our equipment vendors or people from the space who we believe are inspiring or interesting, who can teach you things about your body that you didn't know you needed to know, and we do that strictly for the purpose of education and community. And what I've watched, and the piece that makes me feel so fond, is I see our clients come with articles, and they know, we do IVs, me and this other client do IVs once a week, and so they're exchanging articles and information, and they're digging in, and they teach my team things sometimes as well. And it's maybe slower to have to instead of just being flashy and doing marketing jargon and leaning on the things that probably would work and get us there faster, but there's something really special about this brand that's decided to just be curious all the time and take the consumer on that learning journey with us. That
path is a slow burn and an expensive one. How do the people that you're looking to invest a lot of money deal with that kind of? Because I suppose if you're putting some money in, it's like, right, we want 100 of these really, really quickly, and we want to start seeing a return. What's your approach as a business in terms of scaling up, expanding, and returning for the shareholders?
Yeah, so that is really where the new model that I was mentioning before comes from, because for obviously we want to do right by the consumer and the world and the health and the future of America's health, right? And hopefully beyond America. But then they're shareholders, and it's a business. And so to that piece, this is where our leadership team, we're in a constant state of, with every piece of technology, analyzing how much square footage does it take, how much does it take for us to operate it. So meaning, is a trainer with you for an entire session. Is a trainer just like the red charger, for example? You can't be in there, the person's naked on the bed. So, but you do need a trainer for the first few minutes to bring them into the experience, and then also at the end to collect them out. So we've done the analytics around how much each piece of technology actually costs for us to have in our facility. With those analytics, that's actually helped us make the decisions for the next model, what stays, what goes, and why, so that we can continue to make sure that we're achieving excellent margins, returning on shareholder value, but still delivering on what works for the consumer. So that's really a big part of it. And then making these choices around how could we scale it a lot better, a lot more affordably, with this idea of a group version of upgrade labs. So we are constantly thinking about that piece as well. And the education piece doesn't slow down, because what's so fun and has also been hilarious to watch is a lot of our customers will be like, I don't see that piece of technology getting used at that much. You're probably losing money on it. And they'll be like, have you heard of this piece of technology? And so again, it's that curious, collaborative, it's a lab experience that we have with the customer.
Yeah. So touching on the recovery side, which are the pieces then that have been popular and certainly I suppose a key part of the concept? We walked around some of them earlier. So would you sort of
the ones that I described a little earlier as my favorites, the pulsed electromagnetic fields. That one's full all day, all night, 7 days a week, and it's probably one of the ones that is the trickiest to understand, but the clearest to feel.
Did we see that one?
We did, and so you should definitely try it later. It's literally pulsing your body with the magnetic field of the Earth. Like, we're constantly surrounded by the Earth's magnetic field.
Which one was it? Was it the bed? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, right. I'm with
Yep.
You.
And
the light coloured red.
Oh,
red
that's the red charger, which is another one of my favorites. Okay. I'll show it to you after. We've got one in the corner over here. It does just look like a bed. Right. We have another one that looks like a chair. It looks very unimpressive when I point to it, but it has been one of our clients' favorites, and it's the one that's earthing on steroids.
Right. And when you say it's a client's favorite, why do they like it? Do they like it because how they feel afterwards, or because it's easy compared to that sauna one that you showed me? It's up to your neck.
The Ozone sauna. So it's a little from column A, a little from column B. It is really relaxing. It is one of the pieces of technology where today you will feel different. Mm-hmm. So when you invest your time in a traditional gym, it could take weeks before your bicep grows. You're like, it's sore, but it's taking time to grow. And the pulsed electromagnetic fields, you today will feel better. And the reason for it is, as I said, the Earth has a magnetic field. Our bodies need the magnetic fields for us to thrive. The problem is, so we're constantly taking in the Earth's magnetic field. Our body craves it and needs it. The problem is we're walking on concrete, surrounded by concrete, in shoes. We've got EMFs floating everywhere and radio waves, and we're aging also. And so our bodies become less effective at receiving what we need from the Earth. And so for us, this is the shortcut, this is the hack, where we have technology that simulates the effects of the Earth. And going back to what I said earlier about your cells, speaking to your body in the language of your cells, your body recognizes, that's that feeling, that's something that I know, and I know is really good for me, and I need it to live. And so I'm certain this is why people the day of feel so much better, because literally their cells are like my fuel. I finally got my fuel. And it's this is now just a story, but so it has different settings on it. So we program. So if we know somebody's got inflammation or an injury, we will set it a little different than if we're trying to induce something more like meditation. And one of the frequencies that's on there, it actually directly mimics the same frequency as the Earth, precisely. And it's so funny when people come in here quite tense, and irritable. You know, it's LA, you've been sitting in traffic or whatever, you know, running late and frazzled. And so the team will like set them to 7.8. Our team knows 7.8. And you just watch them like just chill out, and it works like clockwork.
How long do you have to be on it for that?
So a full treatment is about 30 to 40 minutes, but you'll see people, it's wonderfully calming, and it really tickles me every time it happens, because when people are wound tight, I'm like, just sit there and we'll talk, I'll stand by you, and then you just see, I'm like, now you're nice. But it's because your body's like, I recognize this is what I need.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you've got that. Mm-hmm. There's the and what? Tell us the story about the sauna that you sit in. That's a nice story.
The ozone sauna.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of our more intense pieces of technology, but wonderfully detoxifying. So ozone, many people have heard of ozone because of, you know, ozone layer. Again, it's something everything at labs in some way, I can boil it back to where it comes from Mother Nature. And so oxygen is O2 and ozone is O3. And how the clam works, you're in a little hard shell pod that we close around your body, and but your head's sticking out the top of this pod. And we warm the pod up, so it's a sauna. It's a moist sauna, so it'll feel like if you've ever been in a steam room, mm-hmm. kind of. So quite warm and moist. And once we know that we've heated you up nicely and your pores are wide open, we push ozone or O3 into the system. It's quite safe and really, really luxurious for your body. And here's why. So because your pores are open, the ozone seeps in through your pores, and the ozone breaks apart inside your system. It breaks into one part, O2, and your body loves oxygen. Oxygen is the thing that fuels your cells. And so now your body is almost supercharged with the thing that it needs most for happy cells. And happy cells think clearly, sleep well, make your skin look pretty. But you have this one little floating oxygen molecule. And what it wants to do is it wants to bind to something, because it doesn't want to be floating solo. And often what it'll bind to is bacteria and viruses and debris, cellular debris that's floating around. And because it's clung on to something that your body doesn't need, essentially it gets pulled out of your system through the sweat, or you'll excrete it in other ways later. But what's happened in this process with the ozone is that you've supercharged your system with a thing that it needs to thrive, the oxygen, and you've allowed the body to have this crazy cellular detoxification. And so you can imagine, for people who have psoriasis and eczema and other skin things, they see that any sort of flare-up actually goes down once their skin gets exposed to oxygen. But then because of the detoxification, people who don't methylate well, for example, so there's people who just, their bodies don't detox which is a normal process for all of us. It's wonderful for them. I was mentioning, we wrap you in white towels, and often when people come out of the ozone sauna, there's blue and green and black stuff that they've sweated out, but they probably needed to get out of their system. But that's that little floating O molecule at work, like grabbing things and getting the heck out of your body. So that one's intense. It's like how cryotherapy makes me say bad words because it's so cold. The ozone sauna can make you say bad words as well, but that's what my team's here for. Keep you calm in both settings.
And do you find that people tend to use the ones that are nicer? Because I use cryo. I know I feel good afterwards, but it's probably not for everybody.
Yeah.
And my guess is this sauna sounds the same. From a customer's perspective, do you see they tend to gravitate to the things that kind of are fairly nice and painless in general?
So that has been, for me, the fun of watching this business over the last 2.5 years, because the customers are gravitating towards the things that give them the best results. Okay. And that's actually been part of the analytics that I've dug into when making decisions about the future of our company. Because from traditional fitness, people are only going to stick around if it's working. You'll have them for a bit, but if they're not getting results, then they go. And so we tend to program exposing people to our full ecosystem, but then the customers they'll start requesting, like, I want to do, even the ones that are uncomfortable, because of how spectacular the results are, how they feel after. The Ozone, when we first got it and I tried it, I was like, there's just no way that a right-minded consumer is going to want to do this thing on the regular. But it's been insane to watch, because people just feel so amazing after that they're willing to tolerate the heat and and so that's a really popular one for us now. It's constantly booked. I never saw that coming. Yeah, that's why you got to listen to the people who come. Because if I had a choice in the beginning, I wouldn't have put my money on that one.
No, that is surprising, because it's the same with working out. Anyone can get the results, but it's pretty difficult, and you've got to keep it up. So I would have instinctively thought that people are going to go for the things that are just like the bed, the photobiome. That's fairly easy, just lay there and it's all done. Whereas the other one is a bit of work, mental work. It's
big time, and that's an interesting piece for us that we think about as well, because. So let's think about some of the technology in here that it is just lying on a bed. The PEMF is one of them. The red light is another. But when your body's got a lot of toxins floating around, when there's a lot of what we do that appears easy when you're here, it's relaxing while you're at labs. But then later when you detox, it's not quite as comfortable. So, strange things can happen. You can feel fatigued for the next couple of days, like almost flu-y, when your body's the cellular detox starts happening. Hives, just discomfort can occur after from those things that you thought you got off the hook while you were here. But that doesn't last long, of course, and it's an intended outcome that we want.
So you've come from the traditional fitness space of fitness clubs, and this sort of seems as though it's a kind of a combination of fitness. You've got the recovery, and it seems to connect like what you would see in the spa when you talk about things like the skin and the body. It seems to be a kind of bridge between those areas. Is that kind of, what's your thoughts on that?
I do think that's how we talk about it, especially now. Because one consumer is going to understand that a little bit more clearly. What I can say about the future for labs, like, we would consider this the facility you're in right now a signature model. So this type of model will work in the major cities. If I'm looking way far down the road and the brand is fully blown, maybe we have 30 of these on Earth in the major markets. The one that I was describing a little earlier, where we would have the group concept baked into it, and it's a little bit more simplified. And that's the one that we hope to have hundreds on Earth. That one will focus more on recovery, mental reset, and we'd actually take out the fitness piece.
Really?
All right. And the reason for that is the fitness space it's owned very well. Right? People are doing beautiful jobs already with sweat, and we don't necessarily feel the need to go after that space, especially when we see what a compliment it can be to really settle somebody's central nervous system, to really take care of them from the recovery perspective, and then also just their brain, the brain health. It's a less tapped market where we know reliably we do a really good job, and so in the future, while right now we're in the fitness space, we're in the spa space, eventually our hope is to fall nice in that lane of recovery and mental reset.
Yeah, it certainly seems like I have seen a few kind of recovery spaces open up, but as you say, it certainly seems to be a lot more white space there than going after, as you call it, the sweat space where everyone seems to be competing. Do you see then potential collaborations where you could have one of these on the side of a fitness center or hotel?
100%. And that's and we've had those types of conversations, because very similarly, the sweat brands, the sweat brands recognize that there's an opportunity to keep their members happier longer if they're not overtrained, if they're, they're not sore all the time, they're not. So we have had a lot of those collaborative conversations, and we know, because we have, I don't want to say what the brands are, but there's a lot of fitness brands that are out there where the customer is just there 7 days a week, like pounding on a treadmill, or and just like doing repetitive workouts, and then they'll come to labs and they're like, I'm so frustrated, I can't lose the last 10 pounds. And then when we measure them, we're like, you're inflamed, you're overtraining. And so but it's been such a beautiful partnership, because somebody who loves, I'm one of those people, I love sweating and exercising and loud music. I'm never going to give that up, because that's just me. I want to have that experience of like my heart bursting out of my chest and sucking wind. Like, I love that. That's why I do all the recovery over here, because I'm not the person who's going to go to like yoga or stretch. That's like not my thing. I'd rather come do this. But what's been awesome about working with these brands is we've realized your member doesn't have to go there 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Instead, they can give a couple days to us. And what we see is changes in their body composition. And then they're so much happier when they're at their workouts, because now the body's just, it's like rearing and ready to go.
Yeah, it certainly seems a better complement than a spa. I suppose massage is probably the bit that brings them together. But when you think of, you go to a HIIT studio, or you do some sort of high intensity interval training in a gym or wherever, then you do need that that kind of recharge. And I certainly see a lot of people nowadays where they're doing that 5, 6, even 7 days a week, which isn't good. Where I think this, certainly from a business perspective, you're able to kind of keep that customer within your sort of world system, but offer them something that's actually good for them and going to keep them coming back as well.
It's exactly right, because a lot of, whether it's a HIIT studio or even a major chain of a fitness gym, their recovery section is usually mats and foam rollers, right? And so they're never going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the type of recovery technology that we've got here. And so that's why it's nice for all of us to play together in the sandbox, because it's all for the benefit of the person's health. Yeah.
So do you have any idea of what the size or potential is that? Because it's a new, I guess it's a new space that we're talking about, isn't it? There can't be many of these in the whole of the country, really. Do you, I guess you must have somebody looking at that type of stuff.
We do. Yeah, we do. So so the facility that you're in right now at the Beverly Hilton, it's about 6,000 square feet. And we believe that the right amount of space for this next model will be more like 2,500 square feet, 2,500, 3,000 maximum.
Right. And in terms of the potential of the, how big is this kind of recovery, or I guess human upgrade market? Do you know what is it sort of, do you think it's equivalent to the sweat space, would you say, or you don't know? I know it's difficult to say, and I don't want to say anything that you're gonna.
No. I like taking educated guesses, because I'll admit that's what it is. I do believe that the type of facility that we're in right now is becoming a lot more normal. I know that because, like I said, when way back in the beginning, when it was like Dave, Martin, and I, there was nobody, and now there's a lot more, exactly like us. People who get these same technologies as us, and they're building their own types of programming, and so I think it's going to become a lot more normal. Will it become as big as sweat? I don't know. That I don't know. My intuition is like, is the industry, the need going to be as big as like an Orange Theory, as an example, or an F45? That I don't know. But there is still going to be a significant piece of the pie where this will be needed, for sure.
I think of you talked about it at the beginning, that we're not really fixing this sort of problem that's out there in terms of people being healthy. I don't know what the percentages are, but generally it's kind of in that 20% region of people that are working out on a regular basis. And so I guess the people that are working out on a regular basis, certainly in terms of needing some sort of structured recovery, then I guess there's that market. But the other thing that seems to be the potential is the people that are probably not part of that sweat, that have got other sort of reasons to maybe they can't work out in the same way, but some of these things will help them be, maybe even enter into some sort of exercise because they're now, their cells and their diet, etc., are working better. It seems as though it could be a gateway into that as well. So I suppose if I had to make an educated guess, arguably it could be a bigger category than
well,
sweat.
And especially if and you think bigger than sweat potentially?
But potentially mainly for those reasons, because you've got the people that are in that anyway that would naturally eventually figure this out, that should be part of what they do on a regular basis. And then I suppose the people that you wouldn't get in to working out, but if they're able to sort of even just like change their motivation and feel better about themselves, then it's like, okay, well, what else can I be doing that is good for me? Do you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. I actually agree with that. And what was coming up for me when you were talking is it's also about a rebranding of what it means to recover. Because right now, often the consumer is thinking about the foam rollers stretching probably, or today when it's my recovery day, I don't do anything. Right. I just don't do anything at all. And so, while yes, one of the outcomes we're looking for in your body is to help you recover. And when I say that, so your muscles aren't as sore and so you feel like you have the energy again. But a lot of what we're doing is bringing down inflammation, helping remove cellular waste. It's helping balance your hormones. It's the things that are happening on the inside of the body that are very different than how a consumer might be thinking of recovery right now, which is the stretching, the foam rolling, and taking the day off. Like this is getting at the butt. So that's why I'm like, if it was a rebrand, right? And to your point, if a lot of what we're doing here is working with that central nervous system, is working with brain training as an example, and when you've got a brain that is thinking a lot more clearly, it's working a lot more efficiently, right and left hemispheres are firing and wiring in the way that's been optimized, maybe working out does start to feel like a really good idea. Or the body's able to start shedding weight because inflammation has gone down because you're not sitting in fight or flight the whole time. So maybe you could be right. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Certainly an interesting one to think about.
We start sending people to exercise, but the exercise will be optimized and getting really good results.
And I suppose in terms of a short space of time, everybody wants to. We talked earlier about hacking, but if you can kind of get things done in a short space of time, and I guess the interesting thing I saw at CES is about this smart equipment where it actually is learning, and you talked about it, learning about how much you can safely push yourself and back off. I think that's an interesting one as well, and then bringing it together.
And then think how the role of a trainer is going to shift in the future with that. And when I remember when starting here, some individuals in the fitness industry were concerned, like, if the machine's thinking for you and setting the reps, and then why the heck would you need a trainer anymore? And it's been very cool to see, because my team, they're all certified trainers. That was part of the gateway to getting a job here, and then we put them through our own unique training. But it's been so cool to see how these individuals who were floor trainers at big box gyms now have really shifted their perspective about the human body and how to train it. And it's like, now that the machines are helping bring so much intelligence to the workout, how they've actually gone up this crazy level in terms of how they're thinking of the body. So there's some cool things that could happen in the industry.
Yeah, certainly the same thing at CES. There's a lot of companies there that had all this data, but it was like, okay, well, that's great. You can figure all this information out, but now who's going to talk about the word programming? How are you going to now program? What do you do here? What do you do there? And I think that's the thing which, from a trainer perspective, pretty much anybody can go and read men's health, women's fitness, go online, and you can get a decent workout, even if you don't know anything about fitness. Whereas when you step into this space, this is a different level. And I suppose, trainers coming into the industry thinking about where they could go next. This is a a very exciting area that's probably worth learning about.
Yes,
and, I know you guys are doing that. Tell me a bit about your event that you've got in March.
Yeah, or the Upgrade Conference.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so that conference, it was born out of Bulletproof. It was the Bulletproof Biohacking Conference for the first 5 years. Last year, Upgrade Labs took it over, and so now we call it Upgrade XP. It's an upgrade experience, and we have the most insane talent coming in from all corners of the earth and all subject matter that affects a human's life. So the usual suspects that you would expect to see on a biohacking stage, from functional medicine doctors and technology wizards, all the way to the teams bringing in a dominatrix who has figured out what goes on with your brain frequencies when you're experiencing S&M and other related things. So she's like right up our alley, but definitely on the edge, that never before seen on our type of stage. So it's going to be really educational, but also so much fun. So in every morning, we've brought in wonderful fitness leaders and fitness, breath work, meditation. But essentially we're going to get you moving in the morning. We're going to actually take care of the hardware, right? And so you can start the day off with something that may feel somewhat familiar if you're into exercise, meditation, breath work. Then you shower up and then you move into this awesome programming of the day. And there's a story arc throughout the experience. It's 3 days. And the first day is all about tearing down everything that you currently know about yourself. And so we put you through some really interesting challenges in between the education, so I'll tell you what we did last year, and we've got a secret coming up for this year, so I can't say what it is, but last year we brought to the rooftop of the Beverly Hilton, stuntmen will jump off scaffolding. It was like 3 stories high, the scaffolding, a huge airbag pillow at the bottom, and 1,500 people took a flying leap off this crazy scaffolding on the roof of the Beverly Hilton into this huge airbag. But the whole point of it is, everything that you could ever want for your life is always on the other side of fear. Mm-hmm. And so day one's programming was really leading up to this moment where we were like, can you take a leap and trust that there's a new you waiting on the other side when you face this fear? And so that was a programming of day one, and then day 2 was all about rebuilding and new tools and new community, and then day 3 was all about implementation. So when you leave here, how can you make sure that the lessons and the connections, they go home with you in a really practical way? And so there'll be a very similar story arc this year, because for us, that's the best thing. Like, break them down, build them up, make sure that they have tools that they can implement later. But it's a different surprise activity.
Oh, okay.
Because we know people. I was one of the people who was like, "How about we never jump again?" I'm so scared of heights. It was a lot. But I understood the purpose of the exercise. And then, of course, people have been like, "Oh, can we?" I went 10 times back to the back of the line again. But we want to surprise people and not. For everybody who attended in the past, there'll be something really interesting that'll happen this year that'll push the limits even more.
So, talking about limits then, Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you believed is impossible and gone on to make it possible. Outside of jumping off a building into a big bag, what would be a recent memorable example of escaping your own personal limits then?
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it for an hour, but for me, nothing's been more transformative than working on this project and building labs, because I think I've got a pretty barrier-breaking background. I've always been somebody who follows my gut. I'll make a move that seems like it's maybe not super logical. I'll give you. May I just give you a little rundown of my past, and it'll lead right to this. So I used to work on Wall Street in New York, and I always worked in startups. I was in a tech startup, and our office was located on Wall Street, but definitely in the finance space. I was there in 2008 when like all hell was breaking loose, and I was finance in the day, but I was interested in fitness. I was working out a lot in the evenings, weekends, and I was also a dancer. So I used to teach dance. I was in dance companies. I used to perform, but like movement and music, and this is why I'll never give it up, right? I just love the feeling of it, and so that was my evenings and weekends. And I got to this place when, the sky was falling in 2008 through 2010 in New York. I'm riding the train down to Wall Street every day, and everybody's Wall Street Journal's out, and everybody's so tense, and I'm coming up with choreography. I'm writing workouts for myself, and I just got to this place where, I was one of the first people at the startup. I had a big team, the corner office, like the big salary, everything you're supposed to want, but I knew it's not what I was supposed to do. And I went home and told my husband, I think I'm gonna quit. How do you feel about it? And he was like, everybody loves trainers. Like, go move into fitness if that's what you're interested in. And I literally dropped everything, moved to the Equinox on Wall Street, right next door to my company. And I started as a floor trainer, making minimum wage, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I had just gotten certified. I was very lucky that they hired me. And I remember at lunchtime, my teammates, who I used to their raises, their bonuses, their everything, like I used to run their lives, and now they would be running on the treadmill at lunch, and we had to hand out towels every 30 minutes. And so I'm giving them towels on their lunch break, and talk about completely would like whack down my ego, but also they had to go back to work after, and I got to stay at the gym. So really that was the start for me of bursting through a limit and just being like, screw it. If I know in my soul I'm supposed to serve in a different way, I can't continue to just chase this paycheck. And so that was really the first time, and that ended up kicking this 15-year career in fitness into gear, maybe more. I personal trainer, group fitness instructor with Crunch and Equinox. Eventually I got into boutique fitness because this was the time when boutique fitness was really starting to hit. And I was working in boutiques and then running the teams, and I started helping build facilities. And eventually, right prior to working for this company, for Upgrade Labs, I was working for Pound Rockout Workout, drumming-inspired global group fitness brand, super amazing. And I was their head of education and training, oversaw their global master trainer team. And I used to travel around the world at these big trade shows, and I saw technology popping up in a really meaningful way in the health space and fitness. And I didn't know really what was coming, but I knew something was coming. And so that was just like a nugget in the back of my brain, like technology is going to play a bigger role than we understand. I just didn't understand what it was. And while I would travel, I would listen to Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss, and eventually I got fed Dave Asprey. And I found I would travel and listen to Dave, and I started to understand that what I was seeing was biohacking. And and this is again, another one of those limit breakthroughs for me, I got that belly sense again that I got to figure out what this coffee company is up to. And here we go, am I going to go be a barista? And I'll do it because it always works out, right? And I looked on the Bulletproof website at their careers page on that gut sense. And at that time, they were looking for somebody to build this concept. And I'm like, this is what it is. And so fortunately, it all worked out that I got the job. But the reason this journey to me has been the ultimate example of no limits is I sat there in the beginning. I didn't know how to finish construction on a space. I'm like Googling what the heck an HVAC is and how do you get fire extinguishers and power outlets, and I had no clue. But to have nothing, no template in the industry that I could turn to say, this is how you price it, this is how you hire for it, this is how it all fits together. I just really had to figure it out. And now I feel so fearless because I look back on this and I'm like, there exists in the world, I mean, I didn't do it single-handedly, of course, but there exists in the world a concept that I'm seeing others replicate. We get to have amazing meetings like this, and that all came out of just just trusting in myself and like, and just feeling like if there's a chance in this life that I can just like stretch and see what the hell I'm made of, then just go for it. And that's what happened in that moment. And that's why we're sitting in this space right now, and who knows what's next, right?
It's a difficult thing to do.
Yes.
It is, isn't it? You know, like everyone's got these dreams, but very few sort of think, sod it, I'm going to leave something that makes lots of logical sense and go and do something that makes none.
Yeah.
What was it? What for you? Is it just something that's born into you, or was it, you know, what was the sort of catalyst that said I need to follow my gut and my dreams as opposed to what everybody else does?
Yeah, and it, you know, it certainly wasn't something my family's quite like. You have the dream, like stay right where you are, don't move. As you get to know me, I'm a worrier, which is, and I think I overthink everything. I try to think of everything from every angle. So I'm in many ways the least likely person to ever make these big, bold moves. But I get it. I don't think that this is unique to me, but I get a sense inside my gut that's so strong, I feel like I'm standing on a ledge. And I remember when I was working on Wall Street, I would, in the afternoons, it was so intense, I'd actually go to the bathroom, and I remember I'd stand over the sink, and because I felt like I have to jump, like I felt like somebody was standing behind me and I'm on a cliff and they were just gonna shove me. And that feeling was so intense, I just had to listen to myself. And that's actually what happened with the move to this as well, where I was like, oh, I don't know, but I'm back on that ledge and here we go again. And anytime I've faced that ledge and that feeling, I've just always told myself, well, you know, you're here and things always worked out, like I'm here. And so, and I'm okay, like I'm healthy, there's a roof over my head, I'm able to feed myself. And so if I'm here and I'm okay, surely I can make it happen again.
Fantastic. Well, Amanda, great story.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I'm certainly looking forward to what the next chapter will be, what that next ledge is going to be that you're going to jump off. And I'm certainly going to take you up on that. I'm going to have to come and see this conference. I think that sounds very exciting.
Because I said dominatrix.
Well, yeah, that's kind of, you know, and then up my alley as well. That kind of, we'll leave it there, I think. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.